Board of Health to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, good evening. I am Gail Demore, Madam Chair, and with me I have Vice Chair Mary Beth Welch, and board members Dr. Ed Weiner, Andrea Sheehan, and also Dr. Marwa El-Shahabi. And also with us tonight, we have our professional staff, Susan Luminello, Director of Public Health, Michael Green, Associate Director of Public Health, and Christine Mathis, Environmental Engineer. Please note, we are live on BCAT and will be taped and are available for appropriate comments and questions throughout the technology they use. Thank you to BCAT for all that you do in keeping the community informed. And we're moving right into approval of minutes for May 13th. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving into citizens' time, is anyone here in person or online that is not part of our agenda that would like to speak to the Board of Health? Everyone in person is here for the agenda? Okay, good. Anyone online?
It looks like everyone online
Is part of
for
our
an agenda item, although I'm not sure about this. Oh, yes, all for an agenda.
Okay, great, so it sounds like no one else is here for citizens' time. Chairman's report, Memorial Day seems to signify the beginning of summer to so many, but summer really doesn't start until June 21st. But Memorial Day is a good time to remember and honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our common good. So to those of you who have served, are currently serving, or who are on the verge of serving, I would just like to say thank you from myself and I assume the board members as well. Next on our agenda, we have subcommittee reports. We have 3 subcommittee meetings over the past couple weeks, but they're also on our agenda, so we'll go over the reports as we go into them on our agenda.
Please mention by name who made and seconded so they can hear it.
Okay.
For the recording secretary.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you for the reminder.
Yep.
Also, I just wanted to make a quick announcement. I have a subcommittee that will start happening probably, I don't know how often it will be going on, but updates in public health is something that will be co-chaired by Dr. Marwa El-Shahabi and Ed Weiner. They'll spend a few minutes each meeting updating us on new updates, new directives with the scientific and clinical research, or any general advice within public health matters. So that will start in June, and Dr. Weiner will be starting that for us. So thank you. Thank you. In regards to our agenda, we're moving forward. I need a motion, or I'd like to ask for a motion, to take a variance out of order. The variance ties into the application for the Overlook Park. So if I could get a motion
Ms.
for that.
Chairman?
Yes.
I move that we take the variance for Overlook Park out of order, please, and place it here.
Place it with the agenda item,
With the agenda item.
if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a second on that?
A second.
Thank you. So Dr. Weiner made the motion, and Dr. Marwa Shahabi seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 500.
I'm sorry, the meeting minutes was 5?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
And the motion was made by
I'm sorry, I didn't go, the
The Board of Health meeting minutes.
Board of Health meeting minutes was approved 500. Mary Beth Welch made the motion, and Andrea Sheehan seconded.
Good.
Okay, good. We're getting into it. All right, so with our agenda, do you want to start with the police department
Yes, application.
application and the subcommittee report?
Okay.
So if the, yes, please come forward. Please sign in. Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
And just before we start, after you sign in, if you could just introduce yourself.
First, is that committee meeting notes or the application? Does it matter?
Subcommittee?
Yeah, with each application.
Is there confusion?
No, we knew you moved to, okay. Should we do the subcommittee first?
Yes.
So with us tonight, we have,
Thank you. I'm the Town Administrator, John Denizio. We also have some folks from our design team with us. We have Alyssa Peck from Weston and Sampson, who's the civil on the project, here with us in person, and we have some folks online. Kevin Wetzel, who's the architect from KBA. We have Thomas Downey, who's part of CHA, who's the OPM, the Owner's Project Management on the project, and we also have Chief Brown here with us to help.
great, thank you.
Do you want me to give a intro?
I think Dr. Ed was going to do the subcommittee notes, if that's okay?
Yeah, we had a subcommittee meeting last Wednesday, which was May, what was the date?
21st.
May 21st, and present was our new administrator and our police chief in town. They made a presentation of the new police station. It was pretty straightforward with 8 conditions put together by our environmental engineer. One of the roles, or one of the duties, I went in to take a look at a rock that was in the basement of the police station, and I went today. Please thank Chief Brown, please thank Apollo Manzo for arranging that, and the hero, Lieutenant McDonough, you can tell him Bill Hero, who gave me a tour of the basement of the old police station, which only reiterated to me how much we needed a new police station. It's pretty dingy there, but I went ahead and took a look at it, and as it has been described to me, it's an old painted rock. So I'll leave it with that. Presentation?
Oh, sure, just a quick background. The police station currently is located at 45 Center Street, as I'm sure everybody knows. The proposal is to demolish that structure and build a new structure in its place. The new police station building will be roughly in the same footprint as the current one, slightly bigger and shifted a little bit. The current site has really no stormwater management to speak of. There's a catch basin or two that feeds the storm drain system in Center Street. The new design will have a more robust stormwater management system, which will include a couple of underground detention basins and 2 underground infiltration units. The site was somewhat limited as to the amount that they could infiltrate on-site due to the nature of the soils. They don't have the greatest soils there, so they designed around what they could. Excuse me. With that, I'll let the project engineer give us more in-depth information on the proposed.
Well, that was great.
That was good.
You can go to the next slide, please. So as Christine noted, the proposed work includes demolition of the existing building And in its place will be a new police station building that is a bit larger and with more amenities. The site improvements, which is my focus here today, is paved parking, circulation areas, landscape improvements, lots of tree plantings, and utility and stormwater improvements. Next slide, please. So before I talk about the stormwater design, I think it's important to discuss the subsurface conditions. There were 5 test pits performed throughout the site, and they're marked by those red circles on the plan to the left. The test pits found glacial till that was described as dense to very dense, and this translates to an infiltration rate of 0.125 inches per hour, which is indicative of a hydrologic soil group D soil, so very poor. In addition to the infiltration challenges, there is also a shallow seasonal high groundwater table. In one of the test pits, it was as shallow as 46 inches below ground surface, and this was marked by redox features in the test pit. So for the next slide. So before we design the proposed stormwater solution for the site, we need to look at what's happening today. We need to know where's the runoff going, how much is going there, and how fast is it getting there. There are 2 points of analysis here. Most of the runoff from the site is going to the Center Street drainage system, so that's either happening through limited catchment in the paved areas and also overland flow. A smaller portion of runoff from the site is going to the northeast towards the library. Oh, now it sounds like I'm talking real loud. Towards the library. Next slide, please. So I know this is busy, and I will go into more detail on the next slide, but overall, the treatment train is catchment and catch basin structures going to a stormwater treatment unit for TSS removal, and then flowing into underground chambers. And with that, the runoff is going directly into what's called an isolator row, and this is a row wrapped in filter fabric, and it prevents sediment from entering all of the chambers. It sort of just channelizes it into one, so it's easier for maintenance. And then after that, it's all of the runoff. The last point of treatment is what's called a jellyfish filter, and this is to achieve phosphorus reduction to meet the town's standard there. And then it finally discharges to the Center Street drainage system. Next slide, please. So the pictures to the right at the top is the stormwater treatment unit. We're going with we're proposing a storm scepter unit, and this is the town standard for this type of treatment. And to the right is what a underground chamber system looks like before it's backfilled. The rectangular, the items highlighted in blue to the left, the long skinny one is an underground infiltration system. This is taking on runoff from the roof area. And then to the right, the more rectangular one is taking on runoff from the driveway area. These are infiltration systems as opposed to detention, which you'll see on the next slide. This is because the seasonal high groundwater is lower in this location, and we're able to provide some separation from those units to the seasonal high groundwater level. Next slide, please. Sorry, I don't know where my voice is going. So these rectangles, these are the subsurface detention systems. These are detention because the seasonal high groundwater is higher in this location. We don't anticipate that for a portion of the year it likely will not infiltrate. However, we're not lining the system because we hope to achieve some infiltration in the warmer months when likely the ground's not as saturated. And actually, the red circles, I forgot to note it on the other one, those are the stormwater treatment units. And then there is a jellyfish filter, and if you need me to get up and point, I will. There's also a jellyfish filter sort of to the left, it's the red box, and that's doing the phosphorus reduction, as I noted before it discharges into the Center Street drainage system. And with these proposed designs, we like to make the site better than it is, mimic the existing conditions to the maximum extent practicable. And in this case, we are reducing the rate of runoff despite increasing the impervious area by about 18,000 square feet or so. We are reducing the rate. The volume is a challenge because the infiltration rate is just very poor. So there is an increase in volume, but it is being managed through those underground infiltration and detention systems. So if there's any more specific questions, I'm happy to answer them, but that is the end of my formal presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, very informative. Does anyone have any questions?
Oh, thanks.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
there are people watching this on television. Just describe what a jellyfish filter is for them.
Okay, so what's that?
If you go back.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Actually, I should have pointed it out. So it is that unit to the right. How exactly it works, I can't say exactly, but it's those tubes towards the bottom of that picture, those are cartridges that you can, that does the work, and you can periodically take them out and rinse them and put them back. So like in the scheme of maintenance, it's pretty simple. So that's the general gist of it.
And you have Madam Chairman, and you have a schedule to do that.
Yes, in our O&M manual that was provided with the stormwater report, it indicates the frequency of cleaning.
And there were 8 conditions. Does Mr. Venezio or Chief Brown, do you have any problems with those 8 conditions?
No, Dr. Weiner, we talked about them at the subcommittee, and that's what the town expected and has no problem.
Can I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
And I'll second that.
Motion made by Mary Beth Welch, Vice Chair, and Dr. Weiner, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 500.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great. All right, next thing. So the next application.
Variance.
So we have an application, but we need to do the variance first, which was already approved on. If you could come on up and please sign in, and then introduce yourselves.
The variance? Sure. I'll let them introduce and then I'll.
Perfect, thank you.
So, thank you.
Yeah, if you want to introduce yourself, then I'll go to the variance.
Tony Capichetti, registered professional engineer with Weston and Sampson, design engineer for the Overlook Park project.
Great, thank you for being here.
Brendan Egan, Director of Parks and Recreation.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, too.
So the applicant, which is the Town of Burlington Recreation Department, has applied for site plan approval and special permit, which we'll get into in detail. As part of that, they're requesting a variance to Article 3, Section 4.4 BC of the Board of Health Stormwater Regulations to allow for the construction of a pocket wetland or at Overland Park, which is zoned and located in a residential neighborhood. So the option for the board here is to either vote no or yes on the variance, and there is a condition proposed to go with that variance, should you vote yes, and that condition is that the board may revoke, modify, or suspend this variance if, in their opinion, the level of protection is not equivalent to that provided with the restriction with a strict application of Article 3, Section 4.4BC of the Board of Health stormwater regulations. So I don't know if you want to vote on that now, or after, should they vote on that now, or
What's
after they
the
hear?
We might want to
protocol.
discuss it, I don't know.
No, I
Okay,
mean,
so I guess for starters, are there any questions on the variance? You want to hear more about it?
Well, yeah, let me just say something. This is a way for the Board of Health to monitor the state of the drainage within Overlook Park. We had a long discussion, and I'm sure you'll speak about that in the subcommittee meetings, on how we can approve this, tacitly approve this, and still have control if that wetland situation, which is being created to eliminate stormwater issues, fails. And because if we voted for it, then we have no control. And we have had a very poor history of those wetland areas working well. So this way, it still gives the town, through the Board of Health and probably through the Conservation Commission, the ability to say, redesign it a year from now, or 5 years from now, or 20 years from now, because it's a variance, and still approve it and give it a chance of working.
I do have one comment on that, though, just thinking about the condition. You may want to add, in light of what you just said, and so we reference a certain section of the stormwater regulations there, which pertains to the no wetlands or drainage basins in village areas.
no retention or detention.
Yeah, so if you want to also add to that, you could add, and the town of Burlington stormwater regulations, which would cover what you just said in the event that there's drainage now going into residential properties as well, which we don't anticipate that's going to happen, but in the event that it does, and I'm sure they could talk a little bit more about the drainage that they proposed as well.
And we don't expect that problem. I think that I think, I say I had confidence of Mr. Egan and the Recreation Commission maintaining that, and it appears that it was a good design. But just in case we have a problem with the abutters, we have to be able to say, at least to them, that, we're looking out for you anyway. So we're doing our due diligence, and we hope it's beautiful because it's a nice design.
Any questions?
You're going to talk about the subcommittee meeting, right? Is that-
Oh, you're gonna just-
Should we go right
Sure.
into that now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I just
We'll
need to
and then
listen
we
a
can
little bit
vote
more.
on it
Thank
after.
you.
Okay.
You don't put in the subcommittee, yeah.
So the subcommittee meeting was held last week on May 21st, and we went over the site plan approval to look at the new improvements that they're looking to do there. Some of the conditions do tie into the stormwater management guidelines that we offer, and we took a deep look, or a deep dive at the plans. There were test pits put in. There is an abandoned septic system that will be removed. Fill material has to be approved. I felt like the conditions were pretty standard in regards to what we were talking about. The biggest thing that we talked about was trying to manage any excess water and not have it pooling, which I think when they go over the design, they can explain it a little better than I could, to be honest. But when I was going through it and talking about it, it does all make sense in regards to the way they're running it. Do you have anything to add, Doctor, because you were there?
No,
too?
I think you did a nice job.
Thank you.
Is the environmental lawyer going to present this, or is it?
I can just give a quick intro, and then these guys can take it
All
from
right,
there.
that sounds great.
Okay. So as we discussed, there's going to be renovations to Overlook Park. The town recreation department received a grant to do the work, And the improvements are quite extensive. They include renovation and reorganization of all the driveways and parking areas, and actually making formal parking areas. New walkways and a walking loop, new trail network, playground, skating rink, and upgrades to new utilities. All the new trails and walking areas will also be ADA compliant, which will be a nice improvement. Right now, under the existing conditions, there's, again, minimal to no stormwater management. It was just generally overland flow to off-site areas. The stormwater flows to the neighboring avenues and roadways that surround the park. The improvements to stormwater will be accomplished by installing 2 rain gardens / bioretention areas and the aforementioned constructed wetland. And I'll let Tony take over from there.
And so, thank you, as Ms. Mathis said.
Sure.
The project focuses on providing accessibility and modernizing the Overlook Park, substantial improvements to the recreational areas. There's also some depaving going on. We're reducing impervious surfaces by a little bit more than 28,000 square feet, so more than half an acre of impervious will come off the site. We recently received Conservation Commission approval for their stormwater permit last Thursday night. The BMPs on site consist of, in some of the structured areas, deep sump and hooded catch basins for pretreatment. Along the driveway, we have what's called a vegetated filter swale. It's basically just an open swale with check dams, which allows stormwater to be pretreated prior to going into one of the rain garden areas, filtration through the vegetation, as well as through those stone check dams that are placed about every 50 feet going down that swale. The parking areas go to one of 2 rain gardens located on either side of the maintenance building. The larger of 2 is within the existing basketball court area. We found the best soils there, so it had decent soils and depth to water table that would allow for an infiltrating rain garden. On the other side of the parking area where the constructed wetland was, we found what I believe to be a perched water table down about 26 inches. And it looks like you have a change from some coarser sandy loam to a really tight-packed sandy loam, and the water is flowing through that coarser sandy loam. And when you go to the other side where we had decent soil testing, we did encounter that same barrier, but it was down a good 6 feet or so from existing grade. So what we were seeing is water traveling along that interface. Now, we had, so when you look for seasonal high groundwater, you look for redoxamorphic features or modeling, which are concentrations and depletions of iron and manganese from the water raising and coming back down. And what it does is when you see those depletions, you know that over a series of time, it's washed away those minerals. So you see these kind of gray or whitish blotches in with the rust stains. We didn't have a lot of depletions, but we had a lot of concentrations, which makes me believe that it was perched. However, given the condition, I did not want to design something that infiltrates that would be affected by this perched water table. So we went with what's called a constructed pocket wetland. It's very similar to a rain garden bioretention area, relies on vegetation to do the treatment. It's basically a rain garden that's designed to be in close proximity to the water table. So you use more obligative wetland species plus some facultative plus, which would be kind of adjacent to wetland type species. And that's because they're designed to be within 2 feet of the water table. So you're getting that wet soil that will allow these plants to thrive, whereas some upland plants may not tolerate that. In talking with Ms. Mathis, one of the concerns was being in close proximity to the water table is we did not want any standing water. So what we proposed was, in the center of that kind of wetland pocket is a stone filter swale, or a low-flow channel that is about a foot deep, filled with 4-inch minus, so 4-inch kind of brick cobble-sized stones that'll allow the water to collect in there, and then a perforated pipe that'll collect that water and allow it to flow off-site. This solves a number of problems, the standing water from the water table, so we don't have the safety hazard, but also for mosquitoes and other egg-laying species, standing, non-moving water is an attractive area versus water that's flowing through that stone won't allow for vectors to use that as a nesting area and minimize mosquito larvae in that area. So all the BMPs are designed to drain out within a period of time. The BMPs are included to meet the state and the local stormwater requirements. We are redevelopment under the state, which gives us some flexibility on TSS. However, the local ordinance under the Conservation Commission requires full compliance for TSS removal. They do have a reduction in phosphorus removal down to 50%. This project provides 67% phosphorus removal throughout the site. And that does not account for the removal of pavement. As was stated, flow leaves in 3 directions: southeast to Richardson Road, northeast to Harriet Road area, and then to the west, there's a series of woods that goes down to a wetland. And we mimic that dispersion of flows. Rather than opting for straight pipe ends that would flow down the side of the hill, as was stated, there is no real structured drainage system that we can tie into out there. We provided level spreaders that are between 35 and 50-foot long trenches that are, again, dug down 3 feet, backfilled with this 4-inch angular stone. And then the perforated 12-inch pipe is placed down about 2 feet. The bottom of the basins are above that, the ground elevation. So what happens is it flows out like it would with the pipe, but the energy is dissipated by hitting that long stone trench and forced to bubble up 2 feet. So you're taking 2 feet of head right off the bat by allowing that to come up. And then we set a granite curb flush. So now you're spreading that flow out because there's also 3-foot returns between 56 feet and the other one 41 feet, that it flows over that large edge and disperses down the slope. So we're not channelizing any of the flow to potentially create erosion issues in the future, or have it, create that eroded channel that may find its way towards someone's house. So we're trying to mimic this flow where it spreads out across the hillside. We did also read the suggested conditions and have no comments on those. So if there's any questions, I'm more than happy to try and answer them.
And there's no comment because you agree?
Yes, that's,
Just wanted to clarify. Does anyone have any questions or need clarification on anything?
I would like to ask, Madam Chairman, just our team, our professionals, what should the variance, what should be the exact verbiage of the variance?
So I would recommend what you have in front of you, and then add at the end of that sentence, and the Town of Burlington stormwater regulations, which that's the correct name. Town of
Yeah,
Burlington.
so you wanted to read
One more
Article
condition?
3, Section da-da-da-da, and then, and/or the Board of Health
Conditions.
stormwater regulations
Yeah.
in general?
Yeah, and the Town of Burlington stormwater regulations. So that not only that part of it, but the entire regulation. Of course, it could be covered anyways, because the wetland area has an underground pipe, which is, going to be connected to it.
Contributes, yeah,
So it is spread across the site, but
just be safe.
yeah. doesn't matter.
So, Madam Chairman, if I would like to make the motion that we grant the variance to the Burlington Board of Health regulations for stormwater and runoff management, Section 4.4 BC, 1 Overlook Park and the Town of Burlington stormwater regulations. Is that correct?
Second.
So motion made by Dr. Weiner, second by Mary Beth Welch, Vice Chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so 500 for approval of the variance.
Now we go to the
So now we have to look at the application. Are there any questions in regards to what you heard on the presentation? Anyone need anything? So,
Can I ask something very quickly? So those,
Of course.
do you mind? So those perforated pipes, those are at a lower level than these wetland, that, like rain garden area, right? To catch anything on the slope coming down before they hit residential areas? Is that right? That it would,
So the perforated pipes they're twofold. For the lower storms, the goal is that you'll get some infiltration out of it before it starts to flow out. In the larger storms, the idea is that rather than having flow just coming out of a pipe and running down the hill, it's to take the energy off and allow it to bubble up and then spread out over a longer edge versus just having a pipe. And even, you'll see a lot of pipes come out with the small, I don't want to say small, because they're usually 6, 8 feet long at the end for a spreader. But even that, given the downhill slope, we thought we were better off spreading that out between, the smaller one's 35
Right.
feet, the longer one 50 feet.
okay. Thank you.
anything else?
Thank you.
So I would need a motion to approve the application for site plan and special permits at 1 Overlook Park
with the 8.
with the 8 conditions stated, previously stated.
So moved. Second.
So that was motion made by Vice Chair Mary Beth Welch, seconded by Andrea Sheehan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 500. Okay?
Thank you all for your
Thank you.
time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Great.
Mr. Egan.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next on our agenda, we have a One-Wheeler Road failure to comply with Board of Health condition in the site plan decision. Please, hello.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board. Thomas Murphy here representing the property owner at One Wheeler Road in Burlington. Just for a quick way of background, One Wheeler Road is a newly developed commercial building. Went through the approval process at the planning board. This board's also participated in that for site plan approval back, I believe it was around 2021, give or take. All COVID hit, took a lot longer to build than they anticipated. It's finally coming online. They've got their first tenant signed up on a lease. It's going to be a restaurant, hoping to open sometime this fall. They went through the special permitting process with the planning board earlier this year and got that approved. As part of that process, it was discovered through Christine, some of the questions that she sent to us. It turned out one of the conditions this board set back during the special permitting through the planning board was to put a vapor barrier in the property. Vapor barrier was installed, but not to the specifications that were required. And that was discovered back earlier this spring, I believe. So the purpose of this meeting and some of the other meetings we've had up to date is figuring out what we can do about that. We had a subcommittee meeting, myself and the property owner, 2 members of EBI Consulting, was the engineering firm my client retained to help us deal with this. And the chair and Dr. Weiner were there, and the staff members as well. And I believe also that Christine had made a recommendation back earlier in the process as to how to best deal with this, given the reality that the building is there, and now we just got to try to make do as best we can. And I believe that recommendation was to install an active vapor barrier system. And that was kind of the gist of discussions at the subcommittee meeting. The engineer that my client retained has been taking some air samples, is waiting for all the testing on those to come through, and essentially is going to be designing the system that will hopefully meet this board's specifications. So that's kind of where we're at. And I know that it's on the agenda here just to kind of bring everybody up to speed and get a status report. So for the record, and I understand that one of the things tonight might be that it was Christine's recommendation, but was never formally accepted by the board, and obviously if the board wants to do that, that's fine. My client is committed to doing what's been requested of him. He's just waiting for the necessary information. The consulting firm is going to design the system, he's got to put it out to bid, and then he understands clearly that he doesn't get a certificate of occupancy unless and until the system is installed to the board's satisfaction. So this is not a situation where it was an intentional act. It slipped through the cracks. I think the general contractor wasn't paying attention the way he should have, but whatever. And my client wants to make it right. He's willing to do what's been asked of him. He's in the process of getting that done. Once I get the design that the engineers put together, which he told me I should have in a week or so, I'll forward it to Christine, and staff and the board can obviously review it, and if you have anything that needs to be altered or corrected or enhanced or whatever, just let us know. But once everybody's on board and it looks like it's going to meet what the board requires, we'll have it installed in plenty of time for occupancy.
We have a subcommittee meeting, a subcommittee report, a very brief one. First, I want to say that we did have a subcommittee meeting, and the date was 4/16, and attorney Mr. Tom Murphy was there, Dan Yu was there, who was the property owner, and a number of other people. Make it clear that the issue that is coming forward, it was not any intention to not do this. As Mr. Yu stated, during the construction, it was multiple years, and things were put out of sight, and things got out of hand, and it was just an omission. We did talk about what needed to be done, and I guess the bottom line here is that we agreed at some point that an active mitigation system needed to be installed and certain testing needed to be done, and when that was all done, there would be a sign-off on the occupancy permit. But Mr. Murphy noted that we have not approved that formally, and therefore, that's what this meeting was for, and I think that this meeting needs to formally approve the direction of our environmental engineer, and then we can move forward with the full understanding that there would be a mitigation system placed for the site, and we can all move forward. So I'll ask Madam Chairman if we could ask the environmental engineer Christine Mathis to state exactly, very generally, what we should prove for an active mitigation system. We should vote on that, and then when they're ready, it'll give them some time, whatever testing they want to do, and then they can come back and report on that. We can provide an occupancy permit. Actually, Madam Chairman, if I could ask they don't need to come back once the mitigation system is put in, just tell us to do an occupancy permit. So this would be the last formal appearance that you would have to do, Mr. Murphy, if we go ahead and just approve the recommendation for the environmental engineer.
Agreed.
I guess next thing would be an occupancy permit.
And so long as the system is installed according to the way that
Right.
Christine is going to read it, there's no reason, we're not going to approve it or say this is the right, this is the wrong system.
Right.
You have an environmental professional working on that, so we're just going to make sure it's done according to the guidance that Christine is going to quote.
And we'll provide you with all the specs and all the information, just so you have it for your
It'll be
file.
a nice and safe building.
Yeah.
So,
So the recommendation to rectify the situation is that the applicant must install an active soil vapor mitigation system as outlined in the Massachusetts Vapor Intrusion Guidance, WSC number 16-435. The indoor air quality testing must be conducted prior to building occupancy in accordance with the Massachusetts Vapor Intrusion Guidance, WSC 16-435, and air quality testing results must be submitted to the Board of Health.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to move that this board takes the recommendation of our environmental engineer. And Christine, if we vote one way or the other, would you please give that to the proponent's attorney so he knows exactly what we voted on tonight?
I do have that.
You do have that.
She's supplied that.
I just have a quick question, Christine. I know obviously what the conditions from the previous one, regardless, I don't remember, it's in the plan, the thickness, obviously it couldn't be implemented, or it wasn't, not couldn't, but it wasn't. Is there, what's being implemented, the thickness, and it's probably in here, and I didn't read that piece of it, but
So,
what you're,
so essentially they,
the mitigation, is there, just, because we're going back of what the original conditions were to do this mitigation. I understand that we can't go backwards, we're gonna have a mitigation plan, but
right,
is
so
it go
the,
back to exactly what the state would say it should be?
so yeah, the
Yeah, that's what I thought.
original condition required that a vapor barrier that was in accordance with that said,
Yeah.
guidance be installed, which requires a vapor barrier of a certain thickness.
Yep.
40 to 60 mils, or 60 to 80 mils.
Yep.
They put in a 15 mil.
Yep.
Which isn't very thick and probably won't stop many VOCs, if, from entering the building if they are present. So the alternative way to correct the situation, and what you would do with, say, an existing building, because you can't really, it's hard to retrofit
Exactly.
an existing building with put in a vapor barrier of that thickness. So the correction is to put in an active vapor mitigation system, which is literally pipes and fans that withdraw any air before it can get into the breathable space of the building. And that affords the same level of protection to the occupants of that building as would a vapor
And I think
barrier.
it's what you proposed the last meeting, right?
It is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought, just confirming.
Yep,
Thank you.
sure.
So I need a motion to,
I made a motion, we need a second.
oh, sorry, we need a second.
Second?
Second.
So a motion was made by Dr. Weiner, a second was put forth by Vice Chair Mary Beth Welch. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 500.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Members of the board. Thanks,
Thank you
Christine.
very much.
Thank you. Okay, so next on our agenda, we have a permit for biological safety permit, 60 Blanchard Road, Takeda Pharmaceuticals. Am I saying that correctly? Yes. Okay, great. Please come forward, sign on in, and we'll get moving on that.
There's three of us, so I'll submit after.
You can scoot another chair.
You want to
down
scoot
if you
your
want.
chair over? That's fine. So this is,
So while they're signing in, I can give you a quick.
that would be
intro.
fantastic, thank you.
So Takeda's seeking to move some of their operations from operations they were doing at a Devon's facility to the Azure Clean Rooms on Demand facility at 60 Blanchard Road. The operations that they're moving will require a biological safety permit due to the use of RDNA. And they'll be operating out of a couple of clean rooms at Azure. And as a reminder for the board, people who occupy tenants at Azure manage their own clean rooms, so they have their own biological safety manuals and stuff, things that pertain to the in-clean room operations. But something like their emergency action plan, they follow that of Azure's, because that applies to the whole facility. And Azure, in this case, holds the hazardous materials management storage permit, which is already in place. Takeda will not require one because they don't, the amount of hazardous materials they have in their own clean rooms doesn't trigger our threshold quantity, but they do require the biological safety permit due to the type of operations that they'll be commencing there. So with that, I'll let these guys tell you more about Takeda and what they're going to be doing in Burlington.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Board. My name is Jeff Hugendijk. I'm the global lead of Takeda Biosafety, and I have Monty McKillop. He's the manager for the viral vector manufacturing facility. And in the end, we have Scott Reese. He is our health and safety lead and also the biological safety officer for Cambridge and will serve for Burlington also.
Okay.
Again, this is utilizing the space at 60 Blanchard Road for Chrysalis Services, formerly Azure. A little bit about Takeda. We're a global manufacturing company that was founded in 1781, a little over close to 245 years now. We have global headquarters in Japan with a U.S. headquarters located in Cambridge, Cambridge, Massachusetts. We also have sites in Lexington, Covington, Georgia, pretty much all over the globe. We have Takeda both manufacturing and R&D facilities. Takeda continues to have, a very lofty purpose, can create better health for people, brighter future for the world. If we have healthy people, we have a bright world. We want to discover and deliver life-transforming medicines and treatments guided by commitment to patients, people, and the planet. All three of those need to be adhered to consistently. It's direct us to where we want to be and outlines our aspirations and priorities as a company. We do use recombinant DNA, actually the reason why we're here, and also other biological materials. For the Burlington site, we would like to get started right around June 10th of this year. As mentioned previously, we're moving from Devens to Burlington. For Takeda, we have additional scientific management leadership. We have Isabella Rivera. She's the head of the cell therapy sciences. Carlos, I'm sorry, I have to need my glasses. I can't see.
That's okay. We're all there.
Carlos Urizek, he's the head of manufacturing. Daniel Harkins, director of manufacturing, and Mark Hathaway, the associate director of manufacturing. And with that, I would like to hand it over to Monty. He knows the science.
Hi. So Dr. William Monty McKillop. I've been at Takeda for about 8 months now, so reasonably short period of time, brought in to get this project up and running. So I was recruited here from the Medical College of Wisconsin in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I spent the last 10 years working on bringing their manufacturing capabilities in this space online at Children's Hospital of Wisconsin. So what Takeda is aiming to do here is what really all the players in this space are trying to do, which is to harness the power of the immune system to find and combat cancers in patients that basically have few traditional medical options left. So these are patients that commonly have undergone 1 or 2 lines of traditional chemotherapy or radiation therapy or other types of therapy and have failed. They've relapsed, and now they're at the point where they only have a few months or, if lucky, a year to live. And the idea here is to re-educate the immune system to target that cancer. And the traditional way that companies do this is by use of viral vectors. So these are actual viral-like particles. They are not viruses. They do not grow. They cannot achieve a productive infection. So they're replication deficient. So you only have as many particles as you manufacture. They can't take over a host, which makes things much safer for us, the manufacturers, as well as the patient and, of course, the community. So the traditional way that Takeda has gone about this business is to hire external entities, so contract manufacturing organizations. We would pay them to deliver a product to us. About 1.5 years ago, Takeda made the business decision to internalize that process and to start building that own institutional understanding, memory, and capability, thereby bringing manufacturing of these particles in-house, which theoretically should give us more control over timelines, costs, and in fact quality, as we now have more arms overseeing the project and can do it all in-house. The viral vector particle system that we're using is the gamma retrovirus. This is one of the absolute oldest and most well-studied viral vector systems. Research has been conducted on this since the 1980s. In the late 80s, the first clinical trials in this space launched. Between 2017 and 2020, we had 2 FDA approvals using this type of system, and more than 20,000 patients have now been treated using a backbone and system very, very similar to that, which we want to implement. And I mean, it's brought about fantastic benefits to some of those patients, and a reasonable positive safety profile. So our plan is to manufacture these particles here in Burlington. We use the HEK293T cell line to do this. This is also a very well-studied cell line. It's been around for 50 years. For 30 years in the HEK293T sort of junction of this cell line. They're very well-growing cells. They grow very uniformly. This is great for us because we can really develop a protocol that's consistent and repetitive. These cells also love to act on the recombinant DNA. You feed them the recombinant DNA, and they do a great job of producing DNA, RNA, and protein from that, which is absolutely essential to be able to make a good product. So we manufacture in 9 vessels. Each vessel is only about sort of this size. So it's not a tremendously large manufacturing footprint. About 9 of those, and we generate around 24 liters of product, which we then concentrate down to only about 2.4 liters of actual drug substance. This gets stored for a very short time, maybe only about a week, at the facility here in Burlington, at which point it gets shipped to our Cambridge offices or to our collaborators around the world to act on, at which point they take it and further use it to develop the actual cell therapy product that winds up eventually in patients. So that's my quick introduction on the science, and I'll turn it over to Scott, lead of health and safety on the project.
Thank you.
Thanks, Monty. So I'll talk a little bit about our IBC, so our Institutional Biosafety Committee, and other aspects of the site. So Azure has changed to the Chrysalis group. Just want to make that clear. A little while ago, we went through some changes, closed their Devon site, and we moved up here to Burlington. So we formulated a separate IBC for the site. It consists of Takeda EHS. There's about 4 representatives from Takeda EHS on there. We have 2 representatives from our Quadrant Health Services teams. They provide our medical services. We have a doctor and then a nurse who sit on our IBC. Then also a member of our Chrysalis team, so Sean Moran, who's sitting behind us here. He's on the IBC. I think we have about 6 members of our CTMF manufacturing personnel, so the people actually manufacturing the product. And then a member, our Christine from the Board of Health, and then a representative from the community. Our inaugural meeting took place back on May 14th, where we did introductions to the members so everyone knows each other, reviewed our proposed protocol, which Monty had just talked about, and then went through a community charter that we'll have. So the IBC review for our protocol, we primarily looked at the science behind it and the safety aspects of the facility and that type of stuff. So pretty much the material that's being manufactured is a replication-deficient retrovirus particle, and then it'll be used in cell therapy manufacturing, and ultimately the IBC approved it at risk group 2, biosafety 2 level considerations. And that includes PPE, so it's pretty much a full clean room gown, which includes gloves, safety glasses, booties, and a face shield for your breath. So it's a very clean environment. Eventually this will make it into patients. So. We also discussed waste disposal, disinfecting the material, shipping it out, and then solid waste as well. So next slide here. I'll go into more depth on the facility itself. So again, it's Chrysalis, located at 60 Blanchard Road. We'll be licensing clean rooms 9 and 10, which includes about 950 square feet of space, so it's pretty small in size. And then it's all BSL2 rated space with limited access to the clean rooms. The facility itself is very secure too. You have to scan your badge to get into the building. It's a receptionist there. It's located on site 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. unless some clients have additional hours as needed. Badge readers to get into the building, and then badge readers to get into our specific clean rooms, so no other clients could get into our clean rooms, as well as no other, we can't get into other clients' clean rooms. And the next slide here is a floor plan of the facility. So the space highlighted in green are the 2 clean rooms that we're licensing. And you can see the path of travel in the green arrow, which takes you over to the peach color, which is the hazardous waste storage, biohazardous waste storage location. And the last slide we have here are the permits and timelines. So as Jeff had mentioned, we're looking to go live with hazardous materials, biological material on June 10th, start our first harvest then, our manufacturing process then. And the 2 permits we have here, the one we're looking to request for at this meeting here, which is the laboratory biosafety permit, and then we've also applied for the hazardous waste ID permit through the Mass Department of Environmental Protection. And our waste vendor will be Veolia, so they'll handle both hazardous waste and chemical waste. And I think that ends with questions here. Any questions for us?
So you're just looking for level 2
Yes.
permitting? Okay, nothing more than that?
No.
Not 2+.
No. Nope.
And I just had a question about your call list in regards to Burlington specific, if there's an emergency. Do you have that? I didn't see it in the documents. Like, who would,
Christine,
am I,
is Azer or Crystallis, are they responsible for a call-down list, or?
It's in Azur's emergency action plan,
Okay.
and Burlington is listed, Burlington
I
Board of
didn't
Health is
see it,
listed.
okay. That was my only question, if there was one. I didn't see it.
I didn't include it there,
Oh, okay.
EAP, because it's
We
been
always
previ-
talk about it, so,
It was previously approved by the board.
okay, I see. That clarifies it for me, thank
I'm
you.
sorry, Chrysalis.
I just have one question on that, because you mentioned the hours are 7 to 7, possibly could change.
That's when it's staffed with the Chrysalis staff. So there's a receptionist there from 7 to 7.
Okay. I'm just thinking hours of operation, right? Because what do we, if we put, I'm going back to what we did for Azura, it's just making me think when you just said those hours, we're not staffed. Call the Board of Health, it doesn't, we don't have an
Oh,
emergency hotline.
We get
right?
called if it's after hours.
Your cell's on that.
Yes.
Okay, that's what, I thought it was the Board of Health number itself.
Well, the call down list, the fire department has it.
They call you, then it's not from Azura?
Correct.
Okay, that's what, okay, because I know we put it on there, but they're not reaching out to the Board of Health, it's a
It's
call
the
from
fire
the
department
fire
has the call
department.
down list, yep.
Okay, so it's Board of Health call down,
It's more
really.
streamlined, I get it, okay.
Thank you. What?
But in their EAP, if it were during hours, we're specific, the Board of Health is specifically
Right,
listed.
outside of hours, it's done through the call down of the fire department.
Yep,
Thank you.
correct.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Who was responsible ultimately for putting together this application?
I put it together, and then
Did a nice job. I wanted to let you know, it's a very nice job. Thank you very
Thanks.
much. I wanted,
a lot of information goes into it, and a lot of attachments.
and just to a couple of things, the reason we asked for a call-down list from Azer is that the Board of Health needs to know if there's an emergency there, because the buck stops here. And so thank you very much, and thank you for coming to Burlington. This is very complete. I'm very familiar with the science here, and Madam Chair,
So we need a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve, let me just get it right through, the biological safety permit, 60 Blanchard Road, Takeda Pharmaceuticals.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So that was motion made by Dr. Weiner, seconded by Andrea Sheehan. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 500.
Welcome to Burlington.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Nice to be here.
Good work.
Very good work.
Thank you.
Your permit will be posted in the portal
Okay.
tomorrow.
I
Excellent.
know, it's so interesting.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. All right, so we're moving on to staff reports, starting with environmental engineer Christine Mathis. Thank you.
Excuse me. So we had household hazardous waste collection event on May 17th. And we had roughly 339 residents. It was a steady and smooth day, went well. Thanks to everybody who was there helping out, including our volunteers. And I'll take any questions you guys have.
Are there any questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Steve. I have none, except it was a wonderful household hazardous waste, and still some really interesting things come in. Still, a ton of chlordane. I thought it was all gone. There's still a lot of chlordane still comes in. So,
Always surprises me.
I just have one question, and I don't know, Susan, if this is a question for Christine, or if it's something we should table to the next agenda, but I think it kind of falls into one of the applicants that was in front of us this evening. So when we have a situation where conditions are approved with the board, with the applicant, and the conditions are not followed, do we fine? What do we do with that situation? I know there's a mitigation plan, but, I mean, there is, we don't see that often, but and we want to take this and table it, Madam
For
Chair?
discussion?
But I just
I
want to,
can comment.
sure, ask a comment.
So, I guess the answer to that would be, what type of permit the conditions were on. So in the case of the one that we saw tonight, those conditions were on a planning board permit. So those were recommendations to the planning board to put those conditions on their permit. So when we do that, the Board of Health doesn't have a whole lot of authority over their permitting process. The only real authority we have in this instance is to not sign the certificate of occupancy if our conditions have not been met. So if it's a different type of permit, so say it's a Board of Health permit, so like the variance, so something like that, when you place a condition on it, that's like you could pull a variance, or if it's it's a permit for, I don't know, like a
Hazardous storage,
biosafety
yeah.
permit, say, and you put conditions on it, or a hazardous material permit, you put conditions, it's a Board of Health permit. What you can do is pull the permit.
Yeah.
You can revoke or suspend a permit.
But we did
and then they
put
can no longer
conditions of a
operate.
certain, I mean, that was part of, I wasn't on the subcommittee previously, but there was, I know you spent, I think, Dr. Wani, you might have been on it, and with the previous board, there was an enormous amount of effort and work to the board to meet and to come up with those conditions that were agreed upon.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But we only give those commissions to the planning board. They don't have to accept any of them.
Right.
They don't have to accept any of them. It would be in bad taste, and I think
Yeah.
it would be, we would have to take further
Okay.
steps, whether even legal steps. But they don't have to accept any of ours. They do automatically because they're professionals, but they don't have to, so.
We're also checking to make sure
Check.
that they're being met, so that's how Christine caught it. You know, so
Yeah.
that wasn't, before she signs any certificate of occupancy, she's checking to make sure that all the conditions that the board put on it, recommended to the planning board, have been met.
Yeah.
And if they haven't.
This is very
then we won't sign.
infrequent that we've, at least since I've been on the
This is
board.
the
that I've
first
seen
Mary
it.
Beth, I was thinking of the
Yeah.
same thing at the beginning, absolutely the same thing. That, these are our conditions, we put them down, how come they didn't want to do it? And they forgot. There was no bad intention, they forgot. The system worked, our environmental engineer caught it, but I don't know what we can do. But I was thinking about the same thing. I understand where you're coming from.
In the 12 and a half years I've been here, this is the first time it's happened.
I thought you were here for like 20 years.
Not quite.
All right.
Always felt that way, huh?
But
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you for
we don't
answering my
have a
question.
whole lot of other, so, for example, that was discussed in the subcommittee meeting for overlook, and bring that up, where, if you put that condition on the planning board permit, the site permit, the board's not gonna have a whole lot of power over that. But on the variance, you will, if you pull, because you can just pull the variance, and then you can enforce the Board of Health regulation itself, which is the stormwater regulation.
I think-
That's why we recommended that. in the
I think we're
subcommittee.
fortunate that the mitigation plan, that we have a mitigation plan, but, okay. Thank you for answering that.
Are you all set with that?
I am.
or-
Well,
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, so I think, anyway.
Thanks.
Motion to approve the environmental engineers report.
So moved.
Second.
So that was a motion made by Dr. Ed, seconded by
I don't know. You can take it.
It doesn't
matter. You got it.
Andrea Sheehan. And we're moving on to the Associate Director of Public Health, Michael Green's report.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to give you a heads up, next week, Wednesday, the 4th, we'll have our quarterly meeting for the BVRC from 6 to 7 at the Murray Kelly Room. We've actually got one of our own volunteers, Charmaine Lastimo, giving a presentation on palliative care, so that should be interesting and informative. And then a week after that, on Wednesday, the 11th, we'll also be having a communications training with Tim McCoy, one of our trainers, and myself. Will be doing some radio communications and have a fun little exercise for participants after that.
Cool.
And just curious, is that for the Reserve Corps that attend that?
Yes, that's radio training for the Reserve Corps.
That's great.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
I'm just curious, so the palliative care, do you know if this is just a general overview so that is this just for the volunteers or for the general public? Or
This one's pretty much for just the BVRC right now
Yeah.
that we advertised it for. We can elevate this. I know this member, given the presentations, published in a number of journals on palliative care, so I think it can start as a general overview, but I'm sure she'd be able to answer nearly any question on it.
I just think it would actually be great for this to become a little bit more.
I'm hoping so, hoping to screen this one and see.
Yeah, because there's a lot of misunderstanding, I think, when we talk about palliative care in general.
I agree.
Thank you.
Great, so could I have a motion?
No, I have a question.
Oh, sorry, Dr. Ed, I didn't.
Tell us a little bit from rubble to resilience.
From rubble to resilience. So that was a presentation put on by one of the FEP planners, and it was regarding the chaos, basically, that the rubble and aftermath of big storms can create. So you've got, power lines down, roads are blocked, access and exits are you can't get around. Emergency services can't get around, people can't get around, and it turns into quite a mess. And that's really one of the first things that needs to be addressed, is just moving folks around to get to where they're needed in an emergency response. And so they're working on drafting up kind of emergency preparedness plans for the region in regards to mostly like hurricane damage, but now even tornado damage is becoming a reality.
Wow,
Thank you.
interesting. Anything else from anyone? Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. On the second. And a second. Motion made by Mary Beth Welch, Vice Chair, and seconded by Dr. Marwa Sahabi. We're moving on to Director of Public Health's report, Susan Luminello, which includes Marlene Johnson, the health agent, Samantha Hardy, Associate Health Inspector, and also our supervising nurse, Sandra Troiani.
Can I ask questions?
Yes.
Madam Chair? First has to do with the health agent. And Heidi Porter, our former environmental engineer, is now the Director of Public Health in Bedford. She had a question on live turtles.
Yeah, it was something that they discovered in one of their food establishments and had reached out to Marlene about that. That's just an unapproved food, and Marlene's suggestion was to bring it up to the FDA on that.
Wait,
Turtle?
Wait,
That did not happen in Burlington.
okay, I was just like,
So
I didn't see that in the
so-
report.
That's
Like,
Is that because of our Tricon relation?
Yeah, no, actually Bedford is not part of that. I think she just reached out to Marlene because
well, tell us
She's a
where.
special
I know, I was just thinking this.
So Marlene, let's acknowledge Marlene Johnson as an expert in the
Yes,
area. And I think that
yes.
was the most positive thing, is she's recognized as a public health
Yes.
health agent expert, and we should be very grateful that she's part of the board.
yes.
Agreed.
And then the other question I had happened to do with, should we be referring Samantha Hardy as Samantha Ellsworth now?
Yes. Does she, did I refer to it as, sometimes
Yeah.
I forget.
We all forget. And then the last
Thank you.
question, were you satisfied with the health fair survey?
Yes, I thought it was very good. I did have one thing I wanted to take back for next year, and that was the chairs around the room. I thought that was a good suggestion. That was a suggestion from a member of the public to put some chairs around the gym, because it's such a big area, and it's just, it takes a long time to get through, so that people can actually sit kind of along the way. So we're gonna try to set up some chairs in some areas for next year. I thought that was a great suggestion, so, yeah.
Any other questions?
From either report, no.
Great. Could I have a motion to approve her reports, which include the...
Motion.
Thank you.
Second,
Okay. That was a motion made by Andrea Sheehan and seconded by Vice Chair Mary Beth Welch. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 500.
Madam Chair, before you end, again, this may be something that we add to the agenda next week, or a
The
discussion.
agenda's long enough. No, I'm
No,
just
I don't know what the
I'm
next.
just
well,
teasing.
And maybe I just need a little bit more explanation. When you were giving your chairman's report, I think you mentioned that there would be a status or a report, scientific, from both our two elected officials up board.
So it's general updates in public health. They both wanted to, they were both offering to share information.
May I?
Yes.
I think you have what I sent you with Mara and I put it together. We go to many rounds. I go to 3 grand rounds, the 2 grand rounds, the cardiovascular rounds a week, and there's some incredible things that are coming up. Also some direction that have been given to the public that doesn't seem to be talked about very often. So Mara and I, Dr. Mara and I thought about it, maybe once a month, we would give an update on some of the things that we've heard at all of these lectures that we go to. And we thought it would just be 2 minutes, max, a 2 minutes update, and we're open to anyone else who wants to do them too. If you want to do, either of you heard something. But it's a good way of this board just being more informative. 2 minutes, that's it.
I
That's
thought
all.
it was an interesting way to
And I
incorporate.
think I gave you the proposal, Madam Chair.
You did.
And maybe you could share the proposal to
I
everyone.
can forward that.
That would be great. I would
Okay.
appreciate that. Thank you.
And there's one coming up that I need to talk, we've talked about doing, happen to do with direction in cancer and cancer facilities that are kind of interesting, that are being talked about all through the medical field right now. And there were others too. And it would just spend 2 minutes, say, listen, this is what we heard from an expert in the field from someplace in the Midwest. And everybody should think about it. And that's it.
Just for clarification, that'll be under the
Subcommittee.
subcommittee reports, right?
I've been on the subcommittee reports, and
I was going to ask that if it was like citizen time, is it under report
whatever,
status?
I don't care.
Yeah.
And Mara and I are going to put them together, and it's what we do.
Thank you, Gail.
Or if you have any suggestions, like questions about anything specific that you think.
Yeah,
would be
you'd like us to
interesting
talk
know.
about, because I do
Yeah.
spend a lot of time in rounds these days. It's a luxury of being semi-retired, being able to, every Friday morning at 7:30, going to Leahy, and then Mondays at Brigham and Women's, and some Tuesdays at the Boston Medical Center. So that's,
Great.
okay,
Well, we'll
thank
see
you.
how it goes.
I think it's great.
I can
Thank-
share
If you
that.
could share
I can
that, it'd
share
be
that with you.
wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
And she's a practicing physician, so if you have questions,
I'm happy.
Okay, so
If anyone has any curiosity.
meeting adjourned,
summer schedule,
officially adjourned.
summer
Thank you.
schedule coming up. So next will
Oh,
be
yes.
the
Oh,
end of June.
I didn't think of that, right, end of June.
Oh, yes, end of June.
I said our first meeting in June, so that'll be when.
June 20-something.
So when's the next meeting? The last?
It's not,
In June.
Yes.
I just said meeting.
yeah, I think that's our only one.
It is. June 24th.
I just want to make sure I got the right week.
No, don't say that.
No, you heard.
Are you going to do?
No.